This video includes my favorite action shots from each of the top sets of the 1970s. I'll start with 1970. 1970, in my opinion, is one of the best sets as far as action shots go from top sets. From 1966 through 1970, I think, are the best years. In this one, all of the hitters are excellent. There are other hitters that didn't make the team that are also, there are other excellent poses. You have Willie Mays, who looks like he's going to pull it out to center field. I didn't have that card as a kid. I would have loved to have had that card as a kid. I didn't know about it until I became an adult and looked into this, trying to see what the cards are for all of the players. But Mays, Hirschberger, they look like they're going to pull it out. Jim Wynn looks like he just hit it over the left field fence. And then there's excellent fielding positions too. You still have to use some pitchers in the outfield because outfielders didn't often pose for the position. So here I have Jim Brewer in center and Jim Rooker in right. But they have good poses, you know, as if you imagine them as an outfielder as a kid. Don Wirt is excellent at third base. Gene Michael is great at short. Paul Shaw at second is good. You got a first baseman posing at first base. The pitcher, Tom Bergmier, is a really neat pose. I like the blue sleeves on his uniform there. And Johnny Bench looks excellent and poised, ready to get the ball and throw the run around at second base. So I think 1970 is one of the top years as far as action shots go. Here's 1971. I don't think this is as good as 1970 at all. There are a couple good poses. 1971 for me as a kid was the year when the teacher said we were getting too old to collect baseball cards, and I guess I bought into that, so I didn't really buy that many cards in 1971. I wish that I had. Some of these I went back and had to get the cards for once I had determined from looking in a book which I thought the best poses were. Like Pete Rose batting third, I think that's an excellent pose. And he has a lot of good poses. 69, he has a good pose. 68, he has a good pose. But he has an excellent pose there, as do Johnny Jeter and Clarence Gaston in the beginning of the lineup. And Jim Wynn, too, has a nice pose. And McCovey, too, looks like he's going to pull it out to right. And like I mentioned on the 1971 video, I like Louis Tiant center field. It's kind of ironic because Louis Tiant in reality really could never play center field. But if you look in this picture, he looks like he's waiting for the ball, and he's got everything under control in his position in center field. Here we have 1972. I really like the Reggie Jackson card. I got back into collecting more. I guess I had a different teacher the next year in school. And I still collected cards as a kid in 72 and played with them, but I didn't have the Reggie Jackson card. I wish that I did, because I think that's the best pose of the season, and I didn't have it at that time. I had Billy Williams and Ron Santo, though. They were both good hitters with the games that I played with these as a kid. And Thurman Munson, towards the beginning of his career, he's got an excellent pose there in the catching position. 1973 is the last year that I collected cards as a kid, and to me it declines after this, where the sets aren't as good for a long time. The quality of the poses. There's still a few poses that are good, which is why I'm going to show you the following years in the next pages. But 1973 had Cesar Geronimo, excellent pose. Joe Morgan's in it. I don't think I had that card as a kid, but he has a good pose where he looks like he could hit with some pop there, especially when you know it's Joe Morgan, so you know that he can. Duffy Dyer springing out in the catching position, looks like he's going to throw the ball down to second base. And Ron Woods there at center field also had a really good pose. Now here in 1974, this is kind of, for me, several years, 74, 75, 76. I was a little older and too busy to collect these cards as a kid, but I bought the sets later on as an adult and then sold them again years after as the value went up. But they have some good poses this year, but you can see, like, look at Ken Holzman and Jim Hunter in the lower left. They're pitching, but they were the best that I could do as far as coming up with a left fielder and a center fielder. And these are the first shots that I could think of where they're action shots that are game situations. Like you can see Ken Holtzman, you can see the outfielder behind him, you can see the fans in the stands behind Jim Hunter. And the pictures, I know that I don't have the best, I didn't take a great picture, this is just with a cell phone, but the baseball card itself doesn't have a great picture of the faces of the players in those cards either. In recent sets, the action shots are much better because they have, quality zoom lenses. Among the hitters here, first poses are okay. Jim Howarth has that pose would be good in any season. But anyway, this is what was there for 1964. You see Don Baylor for 1974. Don Baylor there with the Orioles before he had some really good seasons with other teams later on in his career. Here's 1975. Bill Melton there's got a pretty good pose, batting 5th for the team. Greg Lazinski's in a batting position. Got Milner with the Mets. Mickey Rivers is in center field with the Angels before he went to the Yankees. And Dick Allen's at first base. That's a good pose if he's posing. That might be an action shot from a regular game, though. Followed by 1976. Now, Steve Garvey's got a good pose. It's a good pose. It's a pose. So that would be right up there with any of them from any Topps set from the 60s or anything. He's got an excellent pose. You see Mickey Rivers in center field posing also. This is the second year in a row. He's the center fielder with the Angels, but he made the team as far as action shots. Then among the hitters, you've got Lyman Bostock batting 2nd. Lyman Bostock died tragically in a shooting early in his career, but he's on a couple of these pages before that happened. Craig Nettles we see batting 8th in this lineup, so there are some good poses. Chris Byers' pose batting leadoff, that would hold for any season, and Cesar Cedeno, that's probably his best hitting pose in any of the top sets. 1977. Now you see Carl Yastrzemski at first base. That year, that was the only position he played, or maybe the prior year when they made the card, that was the only position he played. But he's got a fielding position there. And Pete Rose, now playing third base, has an excellent action shot as a third baseman. So not only did Pete Rose have good action shots as hitters earlier in his career, here he's got one as a third baseman. The outfield ones aren't so good at all. They're just the best that you could do among going through the sets and the pitchers looking for somebody who looks like they could possibly be playing an outfield position. Among the hitters, you got Ron LaFleur has an excellent pose there. George Foster looks okay, like he can hit with power. The John Mayberry card is special to me because I guess I was a little older now, probably had graduated high school, and wasn't collecting baseball cards, and I came upon that card just loose in the park, and it kind of got me interested in baseball cards again. So then I figured people can say that you're too old to collect baseball cards, but if you enjoy doing it, then just do it. So anyway, that John Mayberry, I found that card in the park, and now we're thousands of cards later. 1978. Now 1978 has two excellent poses, Willie Montañez and Mike Sadek. Those two, I have them batting 3rd and 4th here. They could be up there among the top ones in any of the sets from the 60s and 70s. They're really good poses. Some of the others aren't that good. I've got Rusty Staub batting 9th with the Tigers. If you look back at my top action shots of the 1966 video, he's 12 years younger, just coming up with the Astros. So in the meantime, he's played for the Expos, he's played for the Mets, now he's with the Tigers, but he still has a good left-handed pose there. Among the fielding positions, none of them are really that good. 1978 was a special set for me because at a younger age, in like the 60s, the pack sold for a nickel, and you'd get 5 cards in the pack. So walking to school, if you're going to stop at the candy store, if you had 30 cents, you could go to the candy store and buy 6 packs of cards for 30 cents and get 30 cards. And, you know, occasionally you could do that, and after a while, between that and trading and playing games with other kids, you could accumulate your collection. But in 1978, since I was working and had some extra money, I could just go to the candy store and buy a box of cards and just go through the whole box at once, all in mint condition. So that was kind of a fun thing to do. And then 1979, to wrap up the decade, Gaylord Perry pitching for the Padres. He mostly pitched for the Giants and the Indians, had a great career, but he also did great for the Padres for at least one season. And you see Willie Montañez with the Mets pose pretty well. J.R. Richard with the Astros had a tremendous career, tragically cut short with, I don't know if he had a stroke or some life-threatening thing happened to him where he had to stop playing. But up until when that happened, he was a dominating pitcher, and he had to end when he was like 30 years old. He would definitely, if he could have continued at how he was doing, he definitely would be in the Hall of Fame with how he did up until that point in his career. And then among the hitters, the two first hitters, Juan Beniquez and Dave Lopes, those are really good poses. Those poses would be up there for the best years of poses in the late 60s as well. But then the rest of them really aren't that good. They're okay. Willie McCovey's there batting fourth. So I mentioned, I think 1971, I mentioned him. In 1969, I don't know if he made the team because 1969 had really good hitters on it. But here he is in 1979 again. So this is my 1970s summary of the action shots. I'm not going to do individual pages for 74 through 79. I have this for every year, so I'm planning on doing one for the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s when I get a chance to take the pictures. So I hope you like this. If you did, please indicate like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.